Hey everyone, this is a really cool build. It's the Airfix Vintage Classic 172nd Brewster Buffalo. There's a bunch of stuff we're going to do here, which is quite different. One is hand painting canopy, which we'll get to. The plane itself is modular. We'll be masking most of the paintwork to do this. So for a little plane from 1972 tooling, yeah, it is excellent. I should also mention 1972, bit biased, but I think is a great year because that's the year I was born. Interestingly, I was saying to my son, I got a feeling I did this, and he said, yeah, of course, because you're old, you would have done this. But for a $20 old tooling, it is excellent. And there's another thing that I did notice about going back to doing this old school type of plane, and that was the simplicity. You're not going to get bogged down in cockpit. There is no instruments or anything. This is old school Airfix at its best. Interestingly, it's one of those ones where I was thinking, wow, I've done a lot more modern kits that are a lot crappier than this. I didn't have any great fit issues, anything like that. I started out with doing the little pilot. Again, you're not going to get huge super fine detail, but you don't always want to get caught up in that either. The molding itself is actually pretty good. Like I say, this is a 1972 tooling, so it's all raised panel lines and things like that, but it actually gives a nice effect. And I think technically it was much easier to do the molding back in the day before they had EDM and all that to do the tooling. So one of the first things I'm doing is just getting that clear, I don't know what you call it, clear window in the footwell, canopy well, and I tape it up. Anything like that I can tape up first, I tend to do. It just makes it a bit easier rather than trying to come back and do it the other way. So you can see there that's already taped, and then later on it becomes a really easy job just to pull off the tape. And if you do it that way, you don't get that frustration of suddenly spending a day having to mask everything. So I kind of mask it as I go if I can get away with it. Again, the fit here is excellent. You can see it's that old chunky sprue, but again, no big deal. There's no real fit issues here at all. Like I say, I've done a lot worse modern kits. This snaps together nicely. It is really, really good. For $20, I think I bought it at a convention late last year. And it was just one of those really cool ones. There's no complaints at all. Again, there's a bit of cleanup. To be honest, there wasn't even a lot of flash or anything like that. The tooling, generally really good. You can see here, it is simplistic. So the undercarriage, you're not getting any massive detail, but it was quite nice not to be getting bogged down in a lot of super detail. I think there's an interesting thing when you look at these older kits, and they were really more about how does it look on the shelf from a distance. It wasn't really, I think, expected, and I don't think they had the technology really to do the super fine detail, or at least not at that price point. But I think these were really aimed at a good effect when it's sitting on the shelf. So yeah, you can see there the engine, it's nothing super fancy, but when you put it all together, it actually comes alive in that sense. I'm just using Mr. Color Silver. I think it's number 8. Again, this is just a really simple metallic finish, I would say. I haven't really gone to town. A bit blurry there, but that's X14. I think it's just whatever blue. I had the Tamiya sitting there, so I used it. It lined up and matched. For the yellow, I was using Mr. Color. I think it's FS, whatever, we'll see in a second. 329 13538. It's one of those strange things. I like to use Federal Standards yellow on American planes. It's silly, I know, but it's just one of those quirky things. At the same time, if I'm doing German planes, I'd use RLM 04 and stuff. I didn't have this orange color, so what I did was just took the yellow and brown to really just eyeballed what I thought looked like that, dull, flat yellow. To me, it looks orange, but in the manuals it's called flat yellow or something like that. So yeah, you can see there I was pretty happy with this. I think I got a bit of my chicken dinner on the wing at the time, but I was able to fix it all up. Plenty of masking. This is a really nice kit for anyone that's not wanting to get bogged down in build, but wanting to get a bit of practice at actually masking and painting. I've come back, and rather than using decals, I've basically masked and painted as much as possible. There's some really good almost practice pieces here, like the blue stripes, the black on the cowling and so on. It's easy masking, but it's really good practice and it's fun. And like I say, for $20, kit goes together really great. There's no instrument panel or anything like that, so you're not going to get caught up in any of that. And that goes back to my point before, where some of it is, I think the attitude back in 1972 was no one's ever going to see that. This is an interesting one, and I did screw up a bit at first, but it's a good lesson, and like I say, a good reminder just to practice on some of these. Make sure you go first with a base coat of white. I had to come back and fix up my stupidity there. So you'll see here, yeah, live and learn. Do a base coat of white, and then that blue will really punch through. Otherwise, yeah, you just getting in a mess. Easy enough to do. So yeah, I didn't use any of the decals except for I think they're Peace Stars. And like I say, there's a lot of really nice paintwork involved in doing this scheme. I'm surprised they didn't put it on the box. Although I can tell you straight away, I'm going to buy this one again, and I'll do the RAF Burma one definitely. This is always a nice part, pulling off the masking. I get a kick out of that, provided it goes well. That's the catch. I think most of the time, if you're careful, you shouldn't have any problems. I think it's about being patient sometimes with doing the masking. Acrylics, because they dry that bit slower, I think people can get snagged by just being a bit too impatient. And, well, even in the airbrushing itself. So yeah, you can see here even the propeller's nice blue on the backside. Some really cool decals. So as colouring goes, or paint schemes, this is really, really cool. And I think it's easy to forget that the Brewster Buffaloes were a really important plane in the history and scheme of things. I think they got hammered at Midway, but that was the best that was around at the time. And it was the sort of one of those big stepping stones where a lot of other things wouldn't have happened if you hadn't got there. One thing I would mention, when I did do the masking for this blue band, I did have a look at the decals and measure how wide that needs to be. So if you are going to do that, take the time to make sure you get that width right, because you can see there the decal is black and white. So you want it to at least look reasonable. So there's a US Navy decal. This is a really, really cool little kit. I cannot praise it enough. And you can see here how basically we've been able to do the fuselage in one go, the whole wing assembly in one go, and the engine cowling. So this is coming back, doing that second blue stripe, putting on a white base before I come back with the blue. If you want some practice on your masking and painting techniques, this is probably one of the best I'd say out there, purely for the money, and you'll get a really, really nice looking plane. So this is what I'm saying about this modular idea, where we've got the sub-assemblies pretty much already finished. I go through and do the decals on each one, and then it's just put it all together. So we've got the engine assembly, the wing assembly, and the fuselage. Very cool. And I think for those that are getting back into it or new modelers, this is a really cool kit. You'll learn a lot, and like I say, at a low end price, and you won't get snagged and bogged down in a lot of like details such as like undercarriage or cockpit and so on. So I would definitely say, if you get the chance, grab this kit. And I'm not getting sponsored by Airfix or anything. I was just really, really happy with it. You can see here just how nice this comes out. I did spend a fair bit of time lining up the decals. At this point, I was really happy with it, so I was taking the extra care, as you see here, even to doing the little black dot right there on the spinner. No problems at all. One thing I would say there is, because I'm using lacquers and I come over with acrylics, it makes it easy if I screw up to just wash off. I also have made a sheet of just circle cutouts that I can use to do things like the wheels and so on. It makes it much easier. I just use a cry-cut machine to print out a selection of different sizes, and then I can just use them as needed. So at this point, yeah, this thing's looking really, really cool. Very, very happy with it. Now we get to the canopy, and this was an interesting one because it's so fine. And in truth, it's molded really nicely. I just decided to come back and I'd hand paint this, and it gives the hint of, well, the struts or bracing on this canopy. One reason was I was so happy with it that I think just the look or the impression of it was enough to give me the detail that I wanted, whereas I was a bit worried that if I come back and did masking, it might look just that bit too chunky. One thing I can also do, if you're going to do this, I come back with the toothpick and I can scrape away if I've messed up. The blue is just at the rear there, and so there you have it. A really, really cool little Brewster Buffalo, tooled in 1972. A great year, as I say. Get out there and get it. I hope to see you in the next one. I hope you've enjoyed this build. I really did. And yeah, happy modeling. Love to hear your thoughts and comments. If you've done it, let me know, and subscribe. See you in the next one. Thanks again. Bye.